Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today's guests are two shining stars in Vermont's Northeast Kingdom and in the kingdom's only official city, Newport. They are the founders of Wednesdays on the Waterfront. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm going to let the two of you introduce yourselves.
My name's Andrea Carbine.
And my name is Vero Rancourt.
Right. So you founded this great event that everybody's flocking to.
We did.
We did.
Yes, it started over a dinner and just talking about Newport and some ideas that we had for the area and what we wanted, not only for Newport, but for our families as well. And it was an idea that happened over a dinner party, and we said, let's not just make this a dinner party and conversation, let's make it happen.
Right. And how many people went to the very first one?
About
150 or
250 maybe.
Yes,
And
just about.
the last one,
Close to 1,000.
close to 1,000 people. I've used you to, and I didn't even know you, as examples of people who are doing something to better not only Newport, but the Northeast Kingdom. And because you really, Newport makes the news a lot, and unfortunately, it's not always good. And you've created one big, bright spot in the heart of the city.
Thank you. Well, I work at a Belvedere restaurant, and every day I look at this waterfront that we have and our nice lawn and boardwalk and the lake, and it's just not used. And you go to the other side of Magog, and there's so many people and there's so many things happening. And I look at it from Newport, and I'm like, why don't we have? Why is it, we need to be using this? And that's kind of how it started. We're starting about music, and then let's make something happen.
And are you two old enough to remember what that waterfront used to look like?
I don't think so.
Was there a garage there and
Oh,
auto shop?
there were dilapidated boathouses all through there. Yes, there was a garage. There was a nice barber shop, but I have photos of it, and I still have people today who, for some reason, they reminisce. Oh, I wished it looked the way it did back then. Really? The state office building. Yeah, maybe the state office building. Maybe that building shouldn't be the state office building. Maybe it should be a hotel. But for the most part, that whole project there, just beautified that section that you're using. Your concerts are is on state land, correct?
That's correct.
Right.
Yes.
And up until this filming, you have been rained. You haven't been rained on yet.
No, we have not.
Yeah, I know. You do know that is all the result. Steve Wright, the general manager of JP, takes credit for that because for the 2 years that he has been the GM of JP, he has created good snowfalls every year, and I think JP is loosely associated with your group. Is that correct?
Well, they're definitely a sponsor, and Steve Wright was really part of when we first started last year. We kind of had to make it happen we only had a few months. We started talking about this in April, and we wanted the first show to start in July, so Steve was, we reached out to Steve to see if we,
Right.
can get some of his advice and help, and he did.
He apparently he also spoke to his connections to the big man upstairs to make sure you didn't get rained on.
Perfect. I hope he keeps going.
Yes.
Yeah. Even though as we film right now, the following day is your next concert, and I know you're a little bit hesitant whether Steve can quite pull this one off or not, but we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
So, why do you think this is important for Newport?
For me, I most recently moved back from the Portsmouth, New Hampshire area, and I've lived in Boston. I've lived numerous places, and I've always been a fan of live music. And when my husband and I decided to move back here, we thought, okay, if we're going to bring our kids back here, which is a wonderful place to bring up kids, I want them to experience culture. I want them to experience live music, and more than just, once or twice a year when we can get out of town. And I don't know, if you don't have what you want, you make it happen.
Right. That's because I think there's too much of this. Let's talk about it. You have to have a certain amount of talk, but I sometimes find if you include too many people, you end up having meetings to talk about the next meet and what went on at the last meet. And now, where are you? You're from Derby,
I'm originally from Quebec, but I live in Newport Center.
right?
Yeah.
So you're not even you don't even live in Newport, but you care that much about it.
Of course, we work in Newport too, I guess, and yeah, I think we saw the jazz festival happen the year before
Right.
before that, and seeing all the people, how much how many people it brought and how much stuff was going on, and I just think like seeing how we started with 200 people and then 1,000 people at the end, because we started the first year thinking we'll try and see if it works, but we had no choice but keep going, because you can tell that people really want this for Newport, and they want to be showing up on Wednesday nights, midweek to come for a concert with their families, and it just shows that Newport needs it.
Right. Like you're up to 1,000. Is there any point where you're going to be thinking, okay, we've gotten too big? You're not going to like pull off a fish festival in the heart of Newport.
No, probably not that many people. It is, because of the weather, we do have a contingent plan if the weather doesn't cooperate. So if the weather doesn't cooperate, we are at the East Side Restaurant in the banquet room. So that's limited to 200 people. So there's definitely a cap on
the rainy days,
but other
I think
than
as long as we can, there's enough space for everybody on the lawn. I think there's plenty of room, even if.
I think you also bring something else besides just your idea. You also bring youth, because I think too often there's a lot of young people who I think get so frustrated with the old time politics. They just want to. Granted, you do have to respect some of the process, but sometimes it just gets so, especially in Newport, it gets so frustrating to see people talk but not do, and I find that's really it makes it tough for the people who want to do. But I commend both of you for bringing your ideas and not just talking about them, because how many studies have we already had? You could have commissioned a study, spent $5,000 on this. No, you did it. How much of a process was it?
Well, it was a lot of meetings, like you were saying, but I think the team that we have, just the two of us, like you said, kept it like, we had a lot of meetings at first, and we had to meet with some people to see what exactly we had to make sure we had all of the paperwork and the insurance and all the. So it was a lot of, the first year was a lot of the setting up, so it was a lot of work.
So who did you have to work with, as in like you had to work with the state, because that's state land, correct?
Yeah, we had to get permits from the state. There was an insurance piece. There was a lot. It was a learning curve. It was a huge learning curve.
Mm-hmm.
And contacting the band, which JP was really a huge piece of making that happen for us. Our backgrounds are in food service, so music, although we love it, is not our it's not our forte. So, but yeah, we had a lot to make happen, and then like we said, Vera was mentioning, we started the idea in April and wanted to pull it off in July. So funding was another huge piece that we had to pull off. And
yeah, and to be quite honest, at first, when we first started, we had the dinner and then we had a couple more meetings, and I'm like, well, we're really going to make this happen, because it is all about how we're going to pay the bands and the expenses that come with it. And I didn't I wasn't seeing myself as knocking on doors to get money to, I didn't want to like, so we're like, well, we had to kind of start from there, see if we could raise some money, enough money to pay the bands. So I think we kind of started with our, connections, and it was within a few weeks that we had people coming back, yes, we'll help you, yes, we'll help you, and then within a month, we had it secured enough to make sure that we could at least pay the basic expenses. So that's pretty impressive. That
Has it been a steady increase in people that come in attending?
yeah, for the first year it was
Every concert was more people than the next.
yeah.
You know, I point to another community that did this long before you did, is Island Pond.
Yes.
You take the little community of Island Pond, it's a struggling community in many ways, but that's also a happening little community with events such as this. I'm not sure which night theirs are on, but
Friday night, yeah. And we actually spoke to some of the folks who run Island Pond, and we thought, why are we going to reinvent the wheel? And we spoke to Melinda Gervais and a couple of people who are on the chamber and who are a big part of making their Friday Night Live happen, and they were really helpful in just giving us some ideas. And so we definitely looked to them for that, and also we picked Wednesday because there's also a music festival that happens on Thursday nights in Montgomery, so we didn't want to compete. We want you to be able to go to all the live music.
Right.
right. Do you think it's boosted business for the local businesses?
I believe for a Wednesday night that, I'm talking from experience for the restaurant, the Bavelier, obviously, on Wednesday nights usually and that's kind of part of the reason why we picked the Wednesday night, because we're trying to make it work with our schedule, and it's usually a pretty quiet night even in the middle of summer on Main Street. And I've heard all kinds of comments on all the businesses on Main Street too, that those 6 Wednesdays were.
I know, although the Thai restaurant is closed this summer, while Exie and her crew goes back to Thailand to get their E2 visas. Last year, I know, on Wednesdays nights, they were very busy with the people coming and going.
And that's part of what, I mean, I don't think it was our goal, but it's to see that many people, and then to see how it affects and helping businesses that are, it's a hard town to have a business. So if creating, it's almost creating your own event to create some business.
Now, you're from Canada. Do you happen to be from Magog?
Sherbrooke.
Sherbrooke.
So
So
not too far.
did you grow up going to Magog?
Yes.
And when you look at Magog and you look at Newport, it's like two totally different worlds, but they're both beautiful settings. Why is Newport?
It's hard to understand why. Magog is a place where people, everybody from Montreal or from the bigger cities, will travel to the eastern townships as their go-to for the weekend or summer vacation. And it's almost, I don't know why we can't create this the same way, because it is like a calm, and for people that are coming from Boston, or I don't know why we can't, because we have the same lake, we have a ski resort, we have a lot of the same
Do
potential.
you think we're more resistant to change? And people, no matter if their thinking is broke or it's not up to date, do you find that the people here are more resistant to change?
I think so. I think to a point, not all people, but I mean, it's kind of a generalization, but I think sometimes it's business as usual, and I think it's nice to have some fresh ideas and, people who've lived in other places, and maybe there's this way to do it or that way to do it. And I think we need some, spawn some new ideas with whether it's younger people or people who are moving into the area. I think we need to listen to those people. And
Well, that's it. You're right. And, I wished one of you lived in Newport, because we need more of your faces on the city council or as mayor. And because I think it's time, no disrespect to them, but I do think there's a time for people, there's a time for one generation to kind of step aside. I don't mean go away, but and let a younger generation move forward. Not all, just start getting them in so they can also be leaders. Because I think it's time for fresh ideas, and that's how come. Without even knowing the two of you, as I've said, even I was the guest speaker down at the Vermont Hotel. Down in, I don't know if you're familiar with the Vermont Hotel, outstanding hotel down in Burlington. They wanted me to do an in-service on the real Northeast Kingdom. I don't mean this Never Land. I mean the good, the bad, the ugly, the real sights. And I used you folks as examples of what is happening in Newport. So when you contacted me, I said, yes, I want you on.
Yeah.
Well, and I think volunteerism is sort of a lost art, and I'm a teacher, and I teach at the Career Center in Newport. So when we started this project, I started working with my students. I taught hospitality, which unfortunately that program's gone by the wayside. But I teach culinary arts and put students in work-based learning opportunities, and I am the advisor of FBLA, which is Future Business Leaders of America. So I immediately got the kids involved, and it's great to see them. They're down on the waterfront. They're seeing how important it is to give back to their community. And when I did have the hospitality program, the students had a big say, and they watched this event from the beginning. We had some of our projects that they did in the classroom were, okay, what do you think a logo would look like? And what do you think, what do you think that we need to make this event successful? So they sort of helped plan it. So for them to see it come to fruition and really help and volunteer, I think we need more of that. And I think just the community service aspect, I'd like to see that be more of a requirement from a school point of view too.
Now, you grew up here. Every once in a while, I think kids are pummeled with negativism. That sometimes I think we have a can fail attitude here. Is not that we can succeed. I point out to people all the time. People accuse me of having rose-colored glasses. I think about all the people who grew up here, who are succeeding beyond their wildest dreams, and either here or elsewhere. Like I point out, just a couple local people. The head of West Point, the head of West Point, General Cashlin, or I always pronounce his name wrong. He's a North Country grad. Steve Clifford is now the basketball coach for the Orlando Magic, but then we have people right here who are they're doing well, but those stories don't seem to make the news. Do you think you can still make it here?
It's definitely a hard place to make it. I think you need to have a little grit and determination, but absolutely. I think you can. And I think, I don't know, a hard work ethic was driven into both of us from a young age, and I think that's important.
Right. Has there ever been a point where you said, I don't know what we got ourselves into, or have you moved right straight ahead, no problem?
I would say at first, I was the first few months, the first year, I was wondering if we were doing the right thing, and after the first show where you're not sure if anybody's going to show up, and then you have that, oh my God, how are we doing this? But I think right after the first show, all those thoughts, just stopped, because we just saw how popular it was going to be. So since then, I haven't had that thought.
do you guys get on the internet and study the weather? Okay, we only have less than 10 minutes left. What more would you like to talk about?
The music that's coming up, I know that this will have aired already by the time tomorrow's music has gone by the wayside, but we have David Wax Museum coming up. They were Best of Boston back numerous years ago, and it's a Mexican folk band. They're fabulous. They have quite a following, and that should be an awesome night. Mimi and the Pod Brothers are after that on August 8th. And those are two local guys making it in New York City who have agreed to come back with their bands to perform. And then Mike Goodrow Band is going to wrap it up for us. And I think a lot of folks know him. He's played at the Montreal Jazz Fest and has quite a presence locally as well.
You know, one person you may not even know about, Annie Mosier. It'd be kind of nice if you could, if you knew when she was coming up from Tennessee to visit her mother. Annie Mosier is the daughter of the late Howard and Phyllis. Not the late Phyllis, because Phyllis is still alive and well, and she performs in Nashville for years, including at the famed Bluebird Cafe, and she's a Lake Region grad, and I think she'd bring in quite a few people for you. She's just a wonderful singer.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to look into her for next year.
Actually, I have contacts, so
Perfect.
Because I think she'd bring a lot of new people that she went to school with
Nice.
to it.
Yeah,
Nice.
we're always open to new bands. We try and have some local favorites. Evansville Transit Authority opened up for us, and they always draw a large crowd. And then expand on that a bit. So we have some different music coming in as well.
Now, you being the daughter of a music teacher, have you got up there and performed yourself?
Oh no, I prefer to make the event happen and not.
No. All right, just
I guess the last thing I think that is very important is we talked about the presenting sponsors, but there's a lot more than what the presenting ones are helping us, and I guess that's the main thing that I feel like people should know about this is it's happening. This is only happening because we're getting sponsorships from these businesses, local, bigger, small. Everybody's helping. We have so many people, telling us how they want to help, and it goes from money to giving waters to giving popcorn to, everybody's got their way to help, but we wouldn't be able to make this happen without this huge community.
so this
support.
isn't only about the two of you. You're saying.
No.
Not at all. It's
We
this-
just put it together, but without the support we're getting from the community is amazing.
Now, here's a question off music a little bit, but can your generation and the following generation, can you bring Newport back to life? Do you think in your lifetime you will be able to play a role in bringing Newport back to life?
We hope.
We hope. I'd like to think this is a start.
Right.
I don't know. I think we have this saying, trust your crazy ideas, and go for it. If you have an idea, I think that there is a support system around you, and this community, like Vera was saying, is very, very supportive, and it's not something that we could have made happen on our own. So, I don't know, let those crazy ideas fly and see what can happen. I think that it's very possible. Yes.
And here goes my rose-colored glasses again. Is I actually think in the long run, the hole in the ground, that whole issue, and the issues that have been impacting city government, the chaos and that, I actually think it's made us better people, because I think we've returned to the fact that we can't rely on the big man upstairs dropping a bundle of money on us to solve our woes. We can't necessarily rely on government to take care of us. Thus, I think there's a lot of people like you now who are starting to just dig their heels in and say, okay, we are going to do this. We need more of you. And I think, as I said, you're doing a super job, and I'd like to see you branch out and even add more life to Newport, but I don't blame you for not, because you can only spread yourself so thin.
Right. Well, we never know what can happen. Maybe we can do this for a full-time job one day and have more of these events.
How about buy the hole in the ground,
Right,
and
and
build
put a
yourself
stage.
All right. So final words.
No, just thanks to the community for the support. Thanks to all the concert goers who come out every week. It's just really awesome to see that sense of community. And it's not just one genre of music or one genre of people. There are little kids. I have a 3 and a 6-year-old. Vero has a 2-year-old. They're running up and down the hill, having a great time. And then there are people who are 70, 75 who park their chairs every day and they have their spots, and it's for everyone. And it's really nice to see people interacting and communicating and, you know, away from the technology and just kind of coming back to foundation of community.
Right. You know, I don't know how much the genre of music really matters.
Yeah.
I think because I think it's more about community. And
Yeah.
so I think some people, and it also introduces people to new genres of music.
Yeah, we try to vary. You know, we try to have all kinds, but then you see all the same people come back every week. So you know, no, it doesn't really matter. I think, you know, they're coming for the show.
So what are your final words now?
Well, I think she summed it up. I think we're grateful for all the support and happy that people are coming, because this is probably one of the big stress over our, you know, for us is just putting all this energy and this work into an event and hoping that, because you know, we don't sell tickets, you don't know who's gonna show up or not. So thank you for showing up like this.
Okay, but I think the biggest thank you to the two of you for all the work you are putting into this event, which is making, as I said, making Newport and the Northeast Kingdom a brighter and more livable place. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.